Hello, my name is David Broussard and welcome to the Office 365 Bootcamp. In this episode, we'll be talking about SharePoint Administration in Office 365. To get to SharePoint Administration in Office 365, we go to the Office 365 Administration Center. And underneath the Admin Centers area, we will find a link for SharePoint Administration. If we click that, it will take us to the SharePoint Administration website. Now, this is analogous to central administration in an on-premise environment. And all of our management of SharePoint will be done here. The first place that we'll see is a list of all of the site collections that exist inside of our environment. So you can see here that these are the list of all the site collections that I have that are already existing in here. I've got my base one, I've got the Portals Hub is where my videos go, I've got a search center, I've got my app center, I've got a few other ones that are inside of there. If I want to actually create a new site collection, I can simply go over here and say that I want to create a new site collection. At this point, I simply, just like I would on an on-premise environment, I will go ahead and fill in the information. I will call this DCB test, and I will call it test, and it'll be underneath either site or teams. In this case, I'll put it under sites, and I will say that I want to go ahead and create just a team site. I can pick the time zone I want. I happen to be in Central Time, and I will set up my administrator to be Eric Gruber, and I will say OK, and this will actually go out and create for me a brand new site collection. From here, and you'll see that it goes and starts to create it, it'll add it to this list, and I'll get a little green circles going on here that's telling me it's currently working on it. And it will take anywhere from a couple of minutes to maybe 10 minutes sometimes, depending upon how much power is on the server at the time, to actually go ahead and create that site collection. On any one of these site collections, I can actually go out and modify the settings on these particular site collections. So I can actually go out and modify the properties of the site collection, which lets me do things like see who the administrators are and the number of subsites. I can also go out and modify who are my administrators on this particular site. And this is a great way when somebody says, I need you to get access to the site. You can actually go and add yourself as an administrator to that site so that you can go out and make any changes you need to make to it. You can monitor sharing on this particular site. So this is where you can control the level that you're going to allow sharing on this particular site. This one's set to not allow sharing outside my organization. But I could take it all the way down to say allow sharing with all external users and by using anonymous access links. I can limit external sharing by domain. And then if I go and set that up, this is going to allow that particular site to allow people to do sharing both inside and outside of the organization. And I can control that at the individual site collection level. Some other things that I can manage on side of here is I can buy more storage. If I'm out of storage, you can see that I've got 1.02 terabytes available of 1.0 terabytes, so I don't need any more storage. But if I did need more storage, I can go up here and actually buy more storage or server resource quota, okay? So that's in the area where we deal with site collections. The next thing we'll take a look at is user profiles. Now our user profiles in here, I can go out and manage the user profiles that I have with my organization. That means that I can see what properties people are allowing and even add more properties to the user profiles. I can manage the ones that actually exist. I can manage audiences and manage user permissions and policies from here. So as an example, if I want to manage the user profile properties, I can actually go out and take a look at the basic information. And you'll see there's a lot of information that's already existing out here. But if I wanted to add a new one that's called pet's name, I could create a new property, and I'll go ahead and click on that, and it will come up in a second. So now that I've got my new property setting, I can go ahead and call this pet name, and it's going to display pet name, and I can choose what languages I want it to be in. So I can, if I have multilingual, I can say how long do I want this to be. Is it a string? Is it a person? Is it multi-value? In this case, I'm going to make it multi-value. Why? Because I can have multiple pet names. And I'm going to make this bigger. I'll make it 255. And I can say, do I want it separated by commas or by semicolons? We'll say commas is fine. And I can even put a description. Tell us the names of your pets. And I can decide whether it's required or not. And I can even say what the default privacy setting is. Is it seen by only me or everyone? In this case, I'll make it visible by everyone by default. And I can say that the user can override that, meaning the user can change that to showing only themselves if they want to. Am I going to allow users to edit values for this property? Well, it'd be kind of silly if I didn't allow that. And do I want to show this in the profile section? So yes, I do. That way, everyone who goes to the profile section will actually see that the pet name that people have put in. So I'll go down here now at this point and I'll say okay, and I've actually created a brand new user profile, and now all the users in my Office 365 environment will be able to go out and add their pets' names to their user profile. The next thing we'll take a look at is the term store. Now the term store is our ability to take advantage of managed metadata. Now what managed metadata is it allows us to set up hierarchical arrangements of metadata or data inside of our organization. This would enable us to do things like set up a geography term set or set up a department's term set. And so if I want to go out and create one of these things, I can come down under Contoso and say I want to create a new term set. And I'm going to call this new term set geography. Let's see if I can spell it correctly. Okay? And this is going to be the locations for our organization. And I can say who's my owner. I can set up who I want to be the contact. I can set up who are my stakeholders. I can say whether people can submit changes to this or not. And so I'll go ahead and say save. And now what I can do is I can start to create terms underneath here. So I can say things like, underneath geography, I can say things like, I will say the Northeast, and I will say the Southeast. Whoops, helps if I spell it right. And then underneath the Southeast, I could actually say, well, you know what? Georgia is a state in the Southeast, and that so is Florida. Now what happens is I've actually created a hierarchical term set inside of here. If somebody tags something with Florida, it will automatically be tagged with Southeast as well. If somebody tags Southeast, something in Georgia and Florida will actually be able to see that they're part of that region as well. This enables us to set up hierarchical data. Now, we can use this a number of different ways. We can use this to tag items inside of our organization. Like if I want to have a policy document that's only applicable to certain regions of the company, I could use this. I can also use this to handle navigation inside of my organization as well. I can use this to actually have pages associated with it, so when somebody clicks on Florida, it would actually send them to a page about Florida. Another area that we have that's in the Administration Center is the records management area of SharePoint. This will enable us to go ahead and set up a site collection in which we're going to store documents and from a record standpoint. Now, records management is important when I want to have documents that are immutable, meaning they can't be changed. When I recordize something, it's usually at the end of a process like a workflow, and at the end of that workflow, I'm going to mark a document as a business record. At that point, that document can no longer be changed, and it also will be kept for a certain period of time, a disposition. So I can go ahead and create my connections. I don't have one set up right now, but I could create a connection that goes to a specific site collection and allow people to go out and actually set up records and store them in SharePoint. So at the end of a process, if they've created a contract, for example, that's been finalized, I would recordize that as a contract, and then it would be set so it couldn't be edited and it couldn't be deleted until 5 years after, say, the termination of the contract. That's an example of records management. I can also get to the search management section, and this is where I have some control over what actually happens in search inside of SharePoint. In the search administration area, we can modify some of the things that we can do with search inside of SharePoint Online. We can talk about our search schema and modify the properties that we actually want to use and who's going to be using these to query. We can manage our dictionaries, which is our list of terms that we can use to actually improve search. Authoritative pages are valuable because what they can do is I can take a term and set up a page that says when somebody searches for employee handbook, I want this page to appear first because that's the authoritative answer for this. I can even do query suggestions. So as people start to type in, I can turn on whether it's gonna show other search suggestions that people have come up with and the like. I can talk about query rules, which can let me modify my rules so that I can promote important results, and I can even block additional results, and I can fine tune my rankings. That way what I can do is, as I'm looking for certain types of information, I want certain information to be elevated in my search results, that's where I would do that. I can also remove search results, meaning I can take URLs I don't want anybody to see, even if they have access to it. I don't want to appear in the search results. I can remove those out. And then the usage reports are very valuable because they show us what people are searching for, how they're searching. The next area we want to take a look at is the App Store. The App Store is useful inside of SharePoint because a lot of the things that happen in SharePoint Online are all done with apps. And so the App Store is going to enable you to control what apps people are buying and installing in their various site collections. So here you can actually purchase apps at a corporate level and put them into the corporate app catalog so that when people go out and grab apps, they're not thinking they have to rebuy an app because they're not familiar with it. They can go out and find an app and you've already bought it at the corporate level, and now they can simply deploy it to their areas. You can also go out and configure the store settings, like do you allow people to buy apps at all? Do people allow people to install apps at all? And you can even monitor apps, tracking the usage around apps and the permissions around those apps as well. The sharing section allows you to decide how people can share inside your organization. So when you set the sharing outside your organization, what's important to remember is this needs to be set to the most permissive you're going to allow for your entire organization. Earlier we showed how you can go to an individual site collection and you can set the sharing to be more restrictive or less restrictive. If I have it set to don't allow sharing outside your organization at this level, no site collection can become more permissive than I am at the tenant level. So we usually want to set this as permissive as we're going to allow inside of our organization in total. And you can see here I've got allow sharing to authenticated external users and using anonymous access links, and I can go ahead and say links expire after so many days. I would recommend putting in some number there so that people create anonymous links and they will go away after a period of time. You can decide what the default link type is going to be. Is it direct, internal, or anonymous? I can limit external sharing to using domains, and I can set up what those specific domains are. A lot of the same things that we will see, by the way, in the OneDrive management area is as well. Some other global settings that you have inside of SharePoint are things like, do I want to show the site collection storage management? Do I want to allow the old OneDrive for Business experience or the new experience? I would recommend the new experience for people. Do we show the sync button for OneDrive, or do we, and we're in for SharePoint, are we going to use the old client or the new client for our sync? I would recommend using the new client because it has significantly more capabilities than the old one does. When I'm in my SharePoint lists and libraries, by default, it's going to look at the new experience. Now, I can set that to classic experience everywhere. If I set it to new experience, the user in an individual library can set it back to the classic experience. And that's just going to provide them with, the new experience provides them with a better way of looking at things. It's more functionality for them. The admin experience, I can use simple or advanced. If we allow access to the Office graph, this is going to allow things to show up in Delve. And so it's a good way to do that. Our enterprise social collaboration, are we going to use Yammer for our social collaboration, or are we going to use the SharePoint news feed? That's up to you how you do that. The streaming video is the video portal. I would recommend that you use it. It's very, very valuable. It enables you to go ahead and put videos out there, but you can disable that if you don't want people to use it. You can turn on Azure Rights Management or Information Rights Management, which can allow people to actually secure documents that once that security is embedded in the document, no matter where it happens to go, that document will always be secured, and only the people who are authorized to have access can go ahead and see it. Are we going to allow people to create new sites? And if so, where are they going to create those new sites? This is all set up in the site creation area. Do we allow preview features to be turned on or not? Are we going to allow access apps? Can people actually upload access databases into the system and turn them on or not? And then do we allow mobile push notifications for SharePoint and for OneDrive Business in the mobile apps? So those are all some of the settings that you have. Lastly, we have the ability to go out and configure hybridized environments. So if I've got a hybridized environment where I'm going to have an on-premise SharePoint farm and I'm going to have SharePoint Online, I can set up a relationship between the two. What will happen is When I go down to the on-premise farm, I can set up things like the hybrid search connector, which can enable my Office 365 tenant to be informed of any crawls that on-premise SharePoint farm does, and include those in a federated search result, so that when people go up there and type in their search results in SharePoint Online or in Delve, they will see results both from my cloud and from my on-premise environment, and enable them to actually go ahead and click through and get to those links in either place. So I hope you've enjoyed this section and learning about SharePoint administration and Office 365. Thank you very much.